Welcome back to another recap episode with me and Oscar. Today we're going to be talking about the events that happened at UFC 258, and we're going to talk about Blaydes versus Derrick Lewis. That's happening this weekend. A heavyweight, the big boys are showing down this weekend, and it's a really good fight, and I can't wait. Me and Oscar here to talk about who you think is going to win, and we're just going to break down the whole card. Oscar, how's it going over there in California? No, Chicago.
Yes, it is. Yeah, you may have gotten it this week, but I'm not too confident about next week. Well, this week in Chicago, we're seeing a lot of snow, but that does not reflect the mood that I had watching these fights this past weekend. It was just awesome. I always have a great time.
Yeah, the fights were unbelievable this weekend. If you just look at the fight at the top, the Usman versus Burns, the first ever fight of the evening, that was crazy.
Absolutely. That first fight was off the chain. I actually was very confident about Gabe Green getting that win, and Usman winning by knockout. That was surprising to me as well because I thought Gilbert would be able to take those shots after he moved up to welterweight. I was very confident that would go to a decision. Gilbert looked awesome, man. Let's get into it. How did you see that main event going, and what happened in your mind that caused Gilbert to lose?
I think he started when he rocked Usman with that right hand, that perfect right hand over the top, landed clean. I think he tried to hunt for the finish too much. I feel like if he paced himself, it was a 5-round fight. On the feet, there was a clear edge between Burns. It was a clear path to victory that Burns could have finished him. But I think he just the jabs as well from Usman were tremendous, incredible. And yeah, I think Burns just came out too blistering, hit him with that huge right hand. And we saw Usman, in really bad trouble. But he recovered, and the recovery of Usman as well is something that I need to highlight. Usman recovered so quick. He within a few minutes, he looked like his head was clear. He looked ready to go, and it was incredible recovery from Usman. But when it came to the second, we saw Usman stay calm, relaxed. After the first round from Usman, getting knocked down, losing the round, we saw Usman come back as a champion. The second round he came out good, won the round, won all, and then in the third round, knocked him down in round two as well, I believe as well. In round two, then knocked him down in round three, knocked him down, came out with championship heart, and then in round three dropped him with that jab, and that was the end of the fight. A great stoppage from the ref, I believe. I think it was a really good stoppage. I think Burns was knackered, done. I think he was finished. But yeah, I think Burns wasted his energy too quick, and he sort of down from it. I think he got too hyper. He got too excited. For the word, he got too excited that he thought the finish would come, and it didn't. And his energy, he kind of lost all his energy. As he said in a post-fight conference, he said he got too. What did he call it? Cody Garbrandt crazy. He went Cody Garbrandt crazy, and that's a statement to put it absolutely perfect. He went Cody Garbrandt crazy, tried to finish the fight, didn't finish the fight, and he got finished. And the jabs and the kicks of Usman really impressed me this fight. How did you see it?
Yeah, you saw Trevor Whitman's fingerprints all over Usman's striking. I listened to Brendan Schaub's podcast Below the Belt, and he said that Trevor Whitman taught everybody, all of his guys and girls, how to do a great jab. Everybody under Trevor Whitman knows how to do a good jab, and Usman is no different here. His jab was on point, and that's how he got the knockdown. I don't think the knockdown was solely from the jab. It was obviously a cumulative damage because he was landing those massive bombs. And Gilbert, as you said, he got too excited, he got overzealous, and he paid for it. And remember, I told you that his cardio was a little questionable because in that Tyron Woodley fight, he was not pressured. He really faced no adversity in those later rounds. And we saw what happens when he faced real adversity. And he just got overexcited and he paid for it. I would like to see a rematch, honestly, because I do think that he would have a different approach and he could potentially win because we saw Usman had no business being on the ground with him, uh, in his mind at least, because he never went there. He had Burns on his back. He could have gone into his guard, but he didn't. He just was content with the leg kicks, and he wanted to keep it standing, and he's won these fights as of late with the clinch. It never went there. He simply wanted to keep it on the feet and knock him out, and that's what he did. And it was a crazy good performance from Usman, considering he faced all that adversity. I gave up all hope on him after he got hurt really bad early on. And to see a comeback like that, that really tells us that Usman has the heart of a champion because we've never really seen his heart tested like that in the Covington fight, sure. But the Dos Anjos fights and the Woodley fights, he was he was the hammer, not the nail. And we saw him be the hammer early on. And he quickly became the no, he was the nail early on and he quickly became the hammer the longer the fight went. And this was a legendary performance from Usman, and we're going to be talking about this guy as one of the greats in the next couple of years.
100%. If not already, he's one of the best welterweights I've seen in the history of the UFC. But unfortunately, he does fight in the same division as GSP, and no guy. He's defended his belt, was it 11, 12 times in the division? It's
12
crazy.
title fight wins.
12 title fight wins, and
John Jones.
What's Usman on 3?
Usman has 5 title fight wins.
Usman. So he beat Woodley,
Covington, Masvidal, and Burns.
And now Burns. 3. 4. Oh, yeah, he has 3 title defenses, 4 wins.
4 title fight wins, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's just levels to this game, and GSP, with his legacy and what he left behind, unfortunately, Usman's got a tough challenge to try and really put himself at that sort of stature with GSP. But it's possible. We could see him win, defend that belt 11 times, 12 times, surpass GSP, and then it wouldn't even be in question that he is the greatest 170-pounder in the history of the UFC. But we saw Usman get in a lot of trouble in this fight. We've seen him knocked down early on. I feel like he was in more adversity in this fight to the Colby fight, because I feel like the Colby fight was more 50-50. No men was like it was just really competitive on the feet. But this one, I feel like it was in the first round, it was very lopsided. I think Burns looked sharper. He had obviously the greater power. We've seen that. Burns hits hard. Usman is just more technical. He's more more technical, more disciplined, I would say, because he's there. He's ready. Was that sorry?
He's more patient.
Exactly.
That's what won him this fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we've seen he is probably one of the best champions that we have in the UFC at the moment. He's so well-rounded. His striking looked phenomenal. His recovery looked sensational. We've seen, as I said there, his recovery. We've seen him get from adversity. And Usman let us know in this fight, yet again, how good he is.
Yeah, Usman is going to be, as I said, considered as one of the greats if he keeps on winning. I have a question for you. If your dog is in a garage with a serial killer, and that serial killer asks you, let me send one fighter to defeat Kamaru Usman and free your dog in the process, which fight are you sending in that octagon with Kamaru Usman to beat him?
It would probably have to be Khabib Nurmagomedov. That would be the one fight I don't see anyone in that 170 fight. Can it be passed as well?
I was actually just saying it exclusive to welterweight. I actually believe that Usman is bigger than Khabib, and he would definitely win that fight. But that's just me. I was saying just welterweights.
I think that's the best challenge Usman has probably got as Khabib, and as you said there, he's bigger than Khabib. Punches harder, better striker. Wrestling would be interesting, and Khabib wouldn't be afraid to wrestle.
Yeah, absolutely not. But in the clinch,
I gotta
side with Usman.
Usman's incredible in the clinch.
Yeah, but I actually say that it would either be Colby Covington or Wonder Boy Stephen Thompson.
Yeah, Stephen Thompson with his karate.
Yeah, or who knows how good Khamzat is. There's a lot of question marks around Khamzat. If he's as good as Alexander Gustafsson and Alir Latifi are bigging him up to be, who knows? Who knows? Because he's got one punch knockout power, and we saw Usman can get hit and he can, who knows how much power that guy has.
Yeah, we would have found out, but he's out of the fight. I'm glad they're moving on though. I'm really glad they're moving on with that fight because we don't want another situation with Habib, Tony Ferguson. I think they move on with the fight and they run it again down the line when they've both made their names in the division once again. But yeah, we'll move on to the co-main event. We got Macy Barber versus Alexa Grasso. A fantastic pace to this fight. In the first round, it seemed Barber was surprised of the counter-punching of Grasso. Grasso looked really good at counter-punching, and just throughout the whole fight, Macy Barber just didn't have her range. She was punching air most of the fight, which is, it reminds me of Michelle Watson. She was never in range in this fight. Alexa Grasso was always out on the outside, sticking to her range, using her jab really well, her combinations. She looked sharp and she looked really quick. She looked quick. Her boxing and her hands are really quick on the feet. But what most impressed me was the ability to control Barber on the ground. The way her jiu-jitsu, where she almost finished the fight on several occasions on the ground, and she looked really slick on the ground. Was it like an armbar that was almost
Yeah.
sunk in? And I was like, wow, she's a boxer and she looks really well-rounded. She looked really good on the ground. I was really impressed with her jiu-jitsu. But the only downfall I have with Grasso is that she got a little bit tired in the round 3. I think she was, a little bit tired. Barber started to walk her down. She started to land more, but other than that, I think it was a great performance from Grasso, and she's a really well-rounded fighter. And I'm excited to see, where she goes from here.
Yeah, I do think that Grasso was the crisper striker heading into this. As I told you guys, she was better on the feet, and Barber had that long layoff. And as Connor said, that long layoff is no good for a fighter, especially if you want to compete at the highest level. Her timing was a little off. She just couldn't get into the groove of things. Late in the fight, she did show that she can always finish. She got some pretty good power, but it was too little, too late. And Grasso was better pretty much everywhere. And even in the clinch, even though Grasso was smaller, she controlled Barber in the clinch. So I was actually surprised to see her even win in those clinch exchanges. And she was just busier. That's what won the fight in the judges' eyes. If Barber fought like she did in the third round, every round, I think the judges would have given it to her, but it was just too late.
Exactly. It was too late for Barber to kind of really turn it on. And the last 5 minutes, she started to take control of. She's walking Grasso down, but a little too late. And Grasso, kind of walked away with a decision that night. She looked really good. I'm excited to see where she goes from here. But if you were Sean Shelby or Nick Maynard, who would you match her up next with? Ooh. We might have just lost Oscar. I believe we have. Anyway, she fights in the 125-pound division. If you look, is it 125? Yeah, I believe so. Or is it 115? It might be 115. Macy Barber, 115, maybe. Oh, hello.
Oh, yep, here I am. I don't know what happened there. It was likely my Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Anyway, the question was, if you were Mick Maynard or Nick Maynard, or Mick Maynard, actually, Mick. It's Mick. Yeah. And Sean Shelby, if you're one of them, who would you match up Grasso with next?
Yeah, I would definitely match up Grasso with I think she just got booked against Caitlin Chigay. I'm not sure, but maybe against Viviane Araujo. If not, I would like to see her take a step up in competition, maybe against uh, a Roxanne Modafferi or a Cynthia Calvillo. Who knows? There's a lot of options in that division. There's a lot of girls who want a title shot right now. I think Jessica Andrade already snatched it up with that finish of Caitlin Chukagian. But I think Grasso could eventually end up fighting Valentina. I don't think she'll beat her, but I think she'll be a mainstay in that division's top 10.
Yeah, with the win over Barber, Grasso climbed all the way to number 10 in the division. So yeah, Roxanne Mediferi, to get to the top of the division, you kind of got to get through Roxanne, and that would be a great test for her.
Yeah, absolutely. Roxanne, she's not as good on the feet, but she's pretty big for the division. She's decently sized for the division, and if she takes her to the ground, I don't think Alexa could submit her. So it'd be interesting to see how she would deal with somebody as experienced as Roxanne.
Yeah, talking about experience, Kelvin Gastelum versus Ian Heinisch before the co-main event. An impressive fight for KG. He looked impressive. I was really surprised with the ability of KG being able to wrestle Ian Heinisch. I thought Ian Heinisch would be, the more superior wrestler, being able to take down KG. And it was the other way around. I thought Kelvin was the more comfortable in the wrestling exchanges. And he took down Ian Heinisch in that fight quite a few times, if I remember rightly. And Kelvin's cardio looked great. His wrestling looked phenomenal, and his striking really topped it off. It was an impressive performance, and the way he was able to mix it up, incredible. He looked well rounded, and he as I said here, he mixed it up superbly, and it was a fantastic bounce back performance from KG. What are your thoughts on the performance from Kelvin Gastelum?
Yeah, I actually told you before this fight that Kelvin Gastelum had the edge everywhere in every aspect of mixed martial arts, and I was right. He did whatever he wanted. It was Kelvin Gastelum's fight from beginning to end. And even though Ian Heinisch threatened with a ton of submissions, Kelvin was not phased by that, and he was able to do whatever he wanted with him. Ian Heinisch attempted those flying knees and stuff, but it was just an attempt to get a Hail Mary, and it didn't work. Kelvin was the better man that night, and I think Ian has room to grow. He hasn't even been training for 10 years. I think Kelvin was greatly underestimated by a ton of people because they saw those losses on his record and they just assume, oh, he's on the decline. No, he can only get better. He's not even 30. He's only 29, and I think Kelvin should get a better matchup because this was a step down in competition. I think he should fight one of the top guys, maybe Kevin Holland if he beats Derrick Brunson. Um, he trains with Marvin Vittori, and Marvin Vittori says that Kelvin could beat anybody on any given night, and I agree. He nearly beat Stylebender that one night, and people would need to put some respect on his name, just like Usman.
Exactly, 100%. In this fight, I think he looked phenomenal. He mixed it up really, really well. And as you said there perfectly, in that Stylebender fight, almost beat Stylebender. Then the fifth round, unfortunately, he Adesanya came out on top. But yeah, glad to see Kelvin Gastelum back in the win column. One of the nicest guys in MMA. And glad to see him, confident. And after that, he called out Paulo Costa or Robert Whitaker. If one of them fell out, he would step in. What an absolute warrior. Honestly, he just likes to fight. And if you look at his recent fights, he's been fighting some killers. And glad to see him back in the win column, though. And hopefully he picks up some steam, gets a win streak behind him. And, maybe gets another run at the title.
That's very possible because Paulo Costa may have pulled out of that fight with Robert Whitaker. He doesn't want to take it a week early, and I think he might have lost that fight. And Kelvin versus Whitaker, those two were coaches on The Ultimate Fighter, and they were set to fight. But Whitaker had a hernia, and it didn't happen, and we ended up getting that interim title fight we alluded to. And I would love to see that. I was expecting to see that years ago, and to see it now would be great. I want to see it. I think it would be fairly competitive.
I would love to see Robert Whitaker versus Kelvin Gastelum. Such a great fight. But yeah, we'll move on. Ricky Simon versus Brian Kelliger. That was a late addition to the main event, main card. After
Bobby Green.
Who fell out? Miller. Bobby Green with Jim Miller. Yeah, that fell out. So Ricky Simon and Brian Kelliger took that slot, and they went in the main card. And it was just a wrestling clinic from Simon. Kelliger couldn't really deal with the pressure of Simon. I think every time Simon pressured him, he kind of crumbled, got taken down. And I feel like Simon's a real problem at 135 pounds. I would like to see him get a top 10. He looked impressive. His wrestling is always looking great. Yeah, yeah, but I'd like to see him get tested on the feet. You know, we've seen him been knocked out versus Roy Faber. I'd like to see him get more of a striker matchup. Obviously, we know how Kelliger, you know, he's got hard hands, hard hitter. Um, but I'd like to see someone test him a bit more. Where he goes from here, I'd like to see the Cody Stanman fight. That would be good. But what are your thoughts on the Simon versus Kelliger fight?
Yeah, I told you if Simon didn't get caught on the feet or get caught in that booming that he would that he would just coast through. But he didn't coast through. He actually was very active. He was landing a lot. He was getting a ton of takedowns. He was fighting his fight just like Kelvin Gastelum. He was taking the fight in the direction he wanted to, and even cut open Brian Keller pretty well. And the fact that he's not ranked lets you know just how good 135 pounds is. This division is ridiculous. It is so stacked that Sugar Sean O'Malley, one of the biggest stars, doesn't even have a number next to his name. I think that Reggie Simone should fight Marab Shwili again. I would love to see that because that was the latest finish in UFC history in a 3 round fight because it was declared uh, it was declared that Marab was out after the fight, which I just think that was a robbery. I think that Marab was just obviously he was just tired and that it was a misjudgment from the officials. And I would love to see that ran back, and I think Marab gets that win. How about you?
I'd like to see the Cody Stanman fight. They were slated to fight, fell off a few times. I think they should run
Yeah,
it fight, or maybe yeah, it's the Cody Stanman. That fight would really make sense. I was gonna say Sugar maybe, but Sugar just got apparently fighting Thomas
Almeida.
Almeida. Yeah, that fight really confused me. It really did. I think both men are at different times of their career. I think Almeida just losing to Jonathan Martinez, come on, man. It shouldn't be happening. I think I would love to. It's a great way for Almeida to get his name back in the mix, though. 100%.
Yeah, I think we're really gonna find out about how well Sugar Sean has improved because he was just getting first round knockouts before his loss to Cheeto Vera. And if Almeida lands another one of those calf kicks, who knows what happens?
Yeah, his leg could crumble once again against as it did against Vera. But anyway, we'll move on. Maki Pitolo versus Julian Marquez. Um, I think Marquez needed a finish in that third round. He might have been 2 rounds to kneel down. Maki almost got the win. His wrestling looked phenomenal. Maki for a striker, Maki was taking Marquez down. He proved a lot with it as well in his submissions. His striking looked sharp as well in the first 2 rounds, but it was just his cardio. I wasn't his cardio. He got tired in the third. He put too much effort in the first 2 rounds and didn't finish the fight. And Julian toughed it out and got the finish. And after a really long layoff, somehow his cardio was better than Maki after Maki stayed active. He was active in 2020, but Marquez hadn't fought since 2018, and he got the win. But a really good win for Marquez. A really good fight to come back to. But Pitolo, 3 losses on the bounce. His job could be in jeopardy. But hopefully not. He's a nice guy. But great to see Julian Marquez back, and what an absolute great post fight call out, calling out Miley Cyrus, and then he ruined it on Twitter. Absolutely ruined it. But anyway, what's your thoughts on the fight?
Yeah, Marquez blew his shot, with the henna, with the what is it, the Cuban Missile Crisis henna tattoo request. That's just not happening for him. But he should have called out, somebody that he'll actually get because he was so close. It's almost like this fight. If he would ask for Meki Pitolo, and he messes up with just blowing his cardio and just gassing out. Mackie gassed, and he looked like he was on the verge of getting finished by strikes, but he got submitted. And we've seen Marquez do the same thing to Darren Stewart. Darren Stewart got tired, and he was eating big shots, and he got a guillotine. And I thought he was going to get the guillotine, but he switched over an anaconda choke, and that was just a great comeback finish. I was surprised Mackey went out with a grappling heavy game plan. We've never really seen him just go out and take down a guy over and over again. And as soon as that happened, I was like, oh, Marquez is down because Marquez likes to keep it on the feet. He likes to throw those big bombs and get those knockouts, which is what I predicted. But he actually got the submission this time around, and I was happy to see him get that submission. I'm a fan of the guy. He's got a good personality. He's got a podcast with what's her name?
Kendra Lust.
Yeah, Kendra Lust. Yeah, that's a good podcast. I listened to it. And it was a really good win for the guy. And Mikey Pitolo, we've shown he leaves his neck wide open, just like he did in the Darren Stewart fight, and he paid for it once again. And Marquez should get a fun fight up next. Maybe Joaquin Buckley. They were looking to book that fight early on. James Krause. James Krause is great. He really doesn't sugarcoat things. He told him you need this finish, and he did what James Krause asked of him, and he's on to big things after this.
Yeah, James Krause is a brilliant coach. And yeah, exactly how you put it there. He tells him how it is really. You need a finish, you get that finish. And if he would say to you that if you're a round down or 2 round down, James Krause will let you know that. He let you know if he's losing the fight and he needs a finish. And he told Marquez that he needed a finish, and he got the finish from his fighter. James Krause is probably one of the best fighters to turn coaches, and he's incredible. Incredible as a fighter as well. But yeah, great win for Marquez after potentially losing 2 rounds. But we see Marquez maybe get as you said there, step up in competition. Maybe against Joaquin Buckley. That'll be a really fun fight. But yeah, moving on to the prelim main event. We had Anthony Hernandez versus Rodolfo Vieira. Submission. When I say submission, who would you think got that win?
I was so confident that it would be Vieira. I put him in a parlay with Muhammad by decision, that was right, but this was not. He gassed. He has too much muscle on him, as DC said. Maybe he needs to replace some of that muscle with a little fat. The fat allows air to breathe through, and he looked terrible. I thought if he didn't get that submission early on, it could spell doom for him, and it did. He has terrible striking defense. Everything Anthony threw out at him, he got hit with. He got hit with that Holly Holm head kick. Remind me of that, and he ate it. He's got a good chin. I'll give him that. But as I believe Horse Gracie said, you hit a black belt once, you become a brown belt. You hit him again, he becomes a purple belt, and it just it goes downhill from there. And that's what happened. That wasn't like he was tapping him in a grappling match. This is MMA. You have to have multiple skills to do well, and it appears Vieira really just has submissions, and he paid for it here. And I don't think I'll ever bet on the guy again. His gas tank is horrendous. It was some of the worst I've ever seen. If he's completely exhausted in the second round, I can't confidently bet on him to win. And Anthony Hernandez was disrespected by a lot of people, including me. And I think he could get maybe a Mahmoud Muradov off of this win. That's just that was a huge win, and I think it's going to be my upset of the year at the end of this year.
Yeah, it was a great way as well to bounce back after that devastating loss versus Kevin Holland. And yeah, as you said there, let's put this in perspective a little bit. Kevin Holland, no, not Kevin Holland, Anthony Hernandez, a striker. His jiu-jitsu, wasn't really, well known. But Vieira, I think a 21-time BJJ world champion.
7 times, yeah.
7 times. I don't know where I got 21. 7-time BJJ world champion. That if you just think about that, if you put
Anthony Hernandez was trying to ask his coach, "Hey, can I get that another strap on my purple belt?"
So yeah, Hernandez is a purple belt. He's not even like, what is he? 2 ranks off a black belt. You got purple, then you got brown, then you've got black, or was it purple, blue, brown, black? I'm not too sure. Something like that.
It's blue, purple, brown, black.
Mm-hmm. So he's 2 ranks off a black belt, and Vieira, I believe he's a black belt, but
He's the highest level of black belt. There's no better black belt than him.
and he gets submitted. What? That's crazy.
Dana,
Anthony Hernandez coming in with one of the biggest shocks of 2021, and we're only in February. It's crazy. It's crazy.
yeah, Dana said he has the best ground game in the UFC, and this is on a card where we saw guys like Gilbert Burns being on the card. Yeah, he may have the best ground game, but he doesn't quite use it. You know, in MMA, as I said, you gotta have a lot of weapons. And if you don't have a lot of weapons, you gotta have some defense for those other weapons, and he didn't have that defense.
Then what said, as you said there, he might have the best ground game, but I wouldn't count on him in a marathon. I tell you that. He would come dead last.
Yeah, if they were doing, say, 1 minute rounds, maybe they did him and Phil Haas if he wins 1 minute rounds. That's what I want to see.
Imagine a Japan fight, Vieira versus Phil Horst, 10-minute round.
Yeah, like that Hoist Gracie and Hazuki Sakuraba with that unlimited time limit. He may die bad death in that because he cannot go after 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, a great performance for Anthony Hernandez. I don't want to. I would credit where it's due. He submitted a 7-time BJJ world champ. If I was his coach, I'd probably look at that. Maybe deserve that that stripe. He just submitted.
Just give him a brown belt. Just give him a brown belt.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll move on to one of the most impressive performances on the card: Belal Muhammad versus Diego Lima. The constant pressure of Belal was a huge problem for Lima. He just didn't really look comfortable with the pressure with Belal, and Lima did have them calf kicks though. They seemed to be really troubling Belal, and I felt like on this card there was a lot of calf kicks. A lot of fights, a lot of calf kicks were being thrown, especially early on. There was a lot of calf kicks where a lot of fighters threw them. But yeah, I feel like Lima, if he threw more of them calf kicks, it could have really paid trouble for Belal. They were really, we saw the switches, the stances from Belal. That it showed that he was in his leg was a little bit hurt. I don't want to say hurt, labored a little bit. Looked like it was bothering him. But if Lima did execute them calf kicks a little bit more active with them, you could have made Belal really big trouble. But Belal looked as sharp as I've ever seen him. This is the sharpest I've ever seen him on the feet. I think that was the best performance that I've seen of him striking wise. I think he looked incredible. The pressure, he looked 10 times. I said 10 times better on the feet, and then he calls out Li Jing Liang, which was a really good call out and a really fun fight. Rank 12 versus 13 or something like that. Yeah. It makes sense. It's a really sensible fight. A really good call out and a fight that could really materialize. And if that fight does happen, it's a really good fight also. But yeah, I was really impressed with Belal Muhammad. One of the most impressive performances I've seen on the card, other than Anthony Hernandez and Usman and Kelvin Gastelum. There's a lot of impressive performances that we saw this night. But Belal Muhammad, really put himself on the map in the 170-pound division. What are your thoughts on Belal's win?
Yeah, I was very confident that he would win by decision, and that's exactly what he did. He had a Max Holloway-esque performance here. He did everything he wanted to, and he had ridiculous volume. I think he landed like 45 significant strikes in that first round. He was looking flawless. He was doing everything he wanted to. He was hitting him when he wanted to. He was wrestling. Props to Diego Lima for avoiding some takedowns, but eventually he did get put on the ground. And I think Muhammad is definitely going to get that Li Jingliang fight. I think that's a good matchup for both guys. It's a winnable fight for both guys. And as you said, it's 12 versus 13. It's a realistic matchup. And I think Muhammad is underappreciated. This guy has main event cardio, 5-round main event cardio.
He looked ready to go. After that third round, he looked ready to go. He looked sharp.
Yeah, he can go all day. I would love to see him in a main event. Possibly against Chiesa, Neil Magny, any of those guys. Any of those guys. Him versus Neil Magny, no, that could be a 10-round fight.
That would be a crazy fight. But yeah, Bilal Muhammad, he's got a really good potential in front of him. And I'd like to see where he goes from here. In the future, the matchups for him in the future, you think about him and Colby in a 5-round fight. That's an incredible fight. But yeah, the only way is up for Bilal Muhammad, and he's gonna, go to the top of the division. If he does fight Li Jiang next, that's a great matchup, and I'd love to see it. Anyway, Pollyanna Viana defeats Mallory Martin via submission armbar. We just saw levels on the ground. Pollyanna Viana is just levels above Martin on the ground. We saw Martin as well show her inexperience. She was almost out of the submission, but then she slammed Vieira on the canvas, which made the submission then tighter again. So as DC pointed out on the broadcast, that was a lot of inexperience. She should have just pulled away from it. Instead, she slammed her, then made the submission tighter and put herself straight back into the triangle. Martin played with fire with this was it. Pollyanna Viana is apparently a 21-time BJJ world champion. I saw that on the broadcast.
Really? Because she
Yes.
nearly got her arm snapped by Veronica Macedo, who I don't believe is a black belt.
It might have been 21. I was a little bit sleepy at this point, so I'm not too sure, but we'll go with it. But yeah, she paid the price. She played with fire with a BJJ world champion, and she paid the price and got submitted. And they're just levels above on the ground. Martin showed her inexperience. She'll only learn from this. But yeah, an impressive win for Viana. But yeah, what were your thoughts on the win?
Yeah, on the show I picked Viana because I told you Mallory Martin got hurt by Hannah Cypress, therefore I cannot back her. But I went against my own word, and I picked Martin in the end, and that's exactly what I predicted Viana to do. She did. She got that first round submission. We've been seeing a lot of first round submissions in the Apex cage. The octagon smaller, you can close the distance easier, get that takedown, and get that submission, and that's what happened here. And I'm happy it happened because if had this gone the distance, probably would have gone. It probably wouldn't have been as exciting as this was. This is a spectacular submission, and I was happy to see it.
Well, Chris Gutierrez, he defeated Onja Ewell via unanimous decision. The second fight to open the card. A clinic on the feet from Gutierrez. We saw the calf kicks completely shut down Ewell. He could have finished the fight as well, or was that was Phil Rowe? That was Phil Rowe. We'll talk about on there. But Chris Gutierrez, the calf kicks were completely shut down Ewell. Great fights to start the card as well. You think about these first two fights, they were insane pace, insane action. But Gutierrez, he's so diverse on the feet. It's incredible. I love how he mixes up body, head, leg, body, leg, head, whatever it is, shoulder, thigh, calf. He's so unpredictable on the feet, and he put a fantastic performance on against Ewell. And I'm looking to see, what's next for him. After his draw versus, was it Cody Durden, and then he put on a great performance against Ewell. I feel bad for Ewell because he was meant to fight Cody Stanman, and that could have been a huge opportunity for him to get in the rankings. But we know how that fight would probably have went. We probably would have seen the wrestling from Cody Stanman just take him down at will. But Gutierrez looked like an absolute, he looked really good on the feet. Incredible. His striking's diverse, incredible, mixes it up brilliantly, and I'm excited to see where he goes from here. What are your thoughts on the matchup?
Yeah, I think it was a bad matchup for Ewell. He's a tall guy. He's got really skinny legs, and Gutierrez beat him up over and over again. He got kicked in those legs. I think it was 40 leg kicks that he got. Chris fed me crow. I don't know.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah. I think he must. Yeah, that guy must have picked Ewell, and he ate crow. Yeah, my father actually picked Ewell, and he looked very uneducated when Gutierrez messed up Ewell's legs. I thought if Ewell knew how to prepare for those leg kicks, he could get this done, but he clearly did not know how to properly defend them or to check them. He kept on getting stunned stung with them over and over, and he even got hit with with one off the cage. It was like a Showtime leg kick. It was awesome.
That was incredible. And I think I might have said this in our preview show that I feel like if Gutierrez can land them leg kicks against Ewell, it could really shut him down and stop the movement of an Ewell. And that's what happened. The calf kicks completely shut down Ewell, and he just didn't look steady on his lead leg. We see him switch stances quite a lot, but Chris Gutierrez put on a clinic, absolutely beautiful performance on the feet. Talking about beautiful performances. Gabe Green, a great fight to kick off the card. Incredible pace. I thought Rowe was more technical on the feet. He was more technical on the feet, more straighter with his punches. Rowe got tired and got walked down by Green. I think Green, with the pressure, took the shots of Rowe in the first round, walked him down. One judge had it 30-27, which I kind of didn't really agree with. I thought Rowe won that first round fairly easy. But the calf kicks, yet again, played a massive factor in the fight, in the first fight of the evening. Green could have finished the fight in the third round if he kept, if he kept the fight standing, he would have finished that fight. If he let Rowe stand up and keep kicking his leg, the fight would have stopped. The fight would have been stopped clearly. Green is an exciting fight to watch. But I would like to see him work on his boxing a little bit, become a little bit more technical. I think his punches are a little bit wide. But other than that, it's a great win for over Rowe. Rowe, an exciting prospect. Gabe Green, came in there, put on a good performance. But yeah, I'd like to see him get more technical on the feet. I think his punches were a little bit wide. If he can maybe straighten them up, he would look brilliant.
Yeah, he did look really good. But we saw that Rowe could put him on his back over and over again, and maybe he tried to get those submissions. Rowe's a brown belt, and Gabe Green, even though he teaches kids jiu-jitsu, he's not even a brown belt. And he was better on the feet. He was a little stronger. We saw that in the clinch. He could even push Rowe against the fence. I picked Gabe Green with a pretty high confidence, but I got a little nervous when I saw him at weigh-ins because I saw that Rowe was huge. But Rowe really doesn't know how to use that reach too well, and that probably cost him here. And he just created too many openings for Gabe Green to land those big shots. He hurt him pretty bad with those leg kicks too.
Yeah. If Gabe Green kept that fight standing in the third round, and if he kept landing them, the fight would have stopped. It would have been stopped, and he would have got that win by stoppage.
Yeah. That leg kick might gave him the round according to one judge.
Yeah, I don't agree to that. I think that first round was definitely Rowe. How do I say it? Rowe. All right, we're going with Rowe. Row your boat. Gently down the street. Rowe. I think Rowe took the first round.
Yeah, I wasn't too sure. It was close. It was good that Gabe Green was landing more on the feet, but when it went to the ground, it just didn't. It wasn't looking too good for Gabe Green. I think he's got some work to do, but he definitely belongs in the UFC. He's got really good cardio, and he's very tenacious. When he wants to do something, he'll keep on chasing it. But against elite competition, it might cost him.
Yeah, a brilliant way of putting it there. Well, we'll move on to Curtis Blaydes versus Derrick Lewis, shall we?
Yeah, absolutely. That card has 15 fights on it, so we might keep it a little breezy. We got things to do. We got families and whatnot, but this right here is a good card. It's a good card. 15 fights. We got two contender series people debuting, and the first fight of the night is pretty fun. What is it?
So we'll give us a quick little predictions for the main card for the prelim, and then when we go to the main card, we'll do more like little in depth. But yeah, the prelims we'll keep it short. We'll talk about the two fighters just I don't know for about 30 seconds, then we'll give our prediction, and then we'll move on. So first fight of the evening, we've got Rafael Alves versus Pat Sattabettini, who stepped on at short notice. I believe he's a CFFC fighter or Titan, maybe. Yeah. Well, he's stepping in at short notice. Who have you got in this fight?
Yeah, I saw Rafael's debut on the contender series, and He got a knockout right in front of Dana White, and he got on top of the fence and he said, "Dana, sign me." He didn't get signed that time, but he got a shot on the contender series, and he looked pretty good there. He didn't look as good as I thought he would, and that's why he's getting somebody who's getting a short notice fight before that. I forgot he was matched up with, but it wasn't somebody who was
Mike
making a
Triziano.
yeah, he wasn't as much of a touted prospect, and I think that Rafael probably gets it here. He's got some power. I'm not sure if he's a black belt, but he can hold his own on his ground from what I saw, and I think Rafael probably gets a split decision.
Wow. And if you think about, Pat, stepping in at short notice, um, he last fought at December 18, CFFC 91, and he got armbar. He won via armbar. If you look at his losses, he had an arm injury versus James Gonzalez. We can't really go off that. But 2018 lost a split decision. He's never been finished. And then he lost against Robert Waitley in 2015. Again, unanimous decision. So yeah, he's never been finished. A lot of submission wins on his record. A few heel hooks. So if we're going to go with Pat, we're going to probably go with submission. But Alves is going to take this on the feet. As you said in his last fight, got that contender series shot, won via guillotine choke, and got the contract. Was scheduled to fight Mike Triziano, which I thought would have been a better fight for him. Mike Triziano, came off it was tough, wasn't it? Yeah, came off the tough house. Hasn't fought too much. Won the tough. Was it the last tough that we've ever seen?
The last tough was Juan Espino in Macy Chiason. That was the last one we saw.
Yes, that's correct. Mike Triziano was on with Joe Giannatti and them lot. I can't remember what tough season it was. But anyway, I'm going to go with Alves in this fight. I'm going to go with KO.
Oh, that's pretty fair. Has he been knocked out before? His opponent?
Who, Pat? No, he's never been finished.
Yeah, I usually don't like to pick that because when a guy has never been knocked out, we don't know how good his chin is. So
he has some submission skills. I'm looking at Pat's record; they're full of submissions.
Yeah, I think Rafael can hold his own on the ground and he'll get out of those submission attempts and he'll probably win by split decision. It's going to be a close fight.
Yeah, a fun fight early on versus Sergio Spivak versus Jared Vandeira in heavyweights. Jared asked for Sergio Spivak, got his wish, and now they're fighting at heavyweight. Who do you think takes this?
Yeah, I think Spivak should probably take this. I think Spivak's nickname is the Pole Bear, and it's a good nickname. The guy's huge. He can take guys down and out-grapple them. That's what he did. Tied to Yabasa. That was a coming-out party for him at UFC 243. He nearly drowned him in his own blood with those elbows, and he looked spectacular that night. And he really exposed the holes in Tai Tuivasa's game. I think he'll do the same with Jared Vandeira. Jared Vandeira has been submitted twice already in his career. Even though he's coming off a huge winning streak, I think there's holes in his game here, and he's gonna get them exposed by the bigger guy because that guy Sergey Spivak is huge. He's huge, and he's been knocked out by Will Harris, but I just don't think Jared has the power to take him out, and he might gas and get submitted just like Tai Tuivasa, probably by arm triangle. That's what Sergey likes to do.
Yeah, if you look at his, he said that he's been submitted twice in his career, and that was triangle choke and Kimura. That would be interesting to see. He's also been knocked out before in the amateur scene, but that's not going to happen in this fight. I think Sergio Spivak, he's really good on the ground. We saw that against Tai Tuivasa. We've seen it before as well against Tony Lopez. Got that neck crank. He's got lots of submissions. Got that some rare naked choke over Travis Fulton back in 2017. If you know who Travis Fulton is, surely you know.
I honestly don't.
You don't know who Travis Fulton is?
No.
No way.
When was he fighting?
The guy with a record of 257 wins, 55 losses, and 10 draws.
Yeah, I actually got into the UFC, and within the last couple of years, I've done what I could to catch up, but he has not come across my radar yet.
Yeah, he used to fight in the UFC. The guy was just, I think he's the had the most fights in the history of MMA. I think it is him. But yeah, his record is is ridiculous. I believe he used to fight let's look at it this way. In 2000, he had 76 wins and 26 losses.
Did he
That was
win most of these fights? Because if he was getting knocked out or whatever, he might be dead.
yeah. I'm not too sure how many lost with KO, but his record goes on and on and on. Anyway, 215 wins, 55 losses. Not too sure how many got knocked out in, but yeah, he beat Chavez and then beat Tony Lopez, who also has a tremendous journeyman record. 64 wins, 32 losses, crazy.
Wow.
But anyway, yeah, that got him to the UFC after that win. Then he got knocked out by Walt Harris. But yeah, I think this is going to be a win for Sergey Spivak on the ground.
Yeah, Sergey's he's very comfortable on the ground, and if he doesn't take it there, I think Derrick will land a bomb and knock him out. But assuming he doesn't, I think Spivak by arm triangle in round 2.
Mm-hmm. Next up, we have Zaharby. This is was it the cousin of Haas Zaharby?
Yeah, or the brother. I'm not.
Or
Certain.
the brother? Well, yeah, he's fighting. He's dropped 2 back-to-back against Ricardo Ramos, and Vince Morales, and now he's fighting Draco Rodriguez. Before that, he did get a win in the UFC versus Reginaldo Vieira. But yeah, Draco Rodriguez currently 7-1 in his career. Came off the Contender Series, got that triangle choke. A lot of he's got a few KOs in his career, a few submission wins. His only loss does come by KO versus Tony Gravely, who's now in the UFC. This is a fight I'm not too sure which will go what way it will go. I'll let my man Oscar talk first.
Yeah, I saw Draco's. I was wrong. There's actually 3 Contender Series guys making their debut here, and Draco's one of them. He really got into the UFC by watching it on TV, on Spike TV. Dana always thought that somebody could become a fighter. They were exposed to it on free TV, and Draco was one of those guys. And he showed up on the Contender Series, and he choked Leo Mana Martinez out in the first round in 2 minutes and 22 seconds, and he looked really impressive that outing. This guy's pretty early in his career. He actually made his debut in 2017, the same year that Zaharby got knocked out against Ricardo Hamas on that big New York card, and that could spell danger for him because the experience really could really play into the result. But I will side with Draco here because he's got momentum on his side, and Zaharby does not. He's not been fighting a lot as of late, and I don't think he's going to do too well in this fight, especially with a guy like Draco who's got great cardio. The only time he got finished was in the 5th round with about a minute left. So that shows you this guy can go for a long time. And Faraz got knocked out late against Ricardo Hamas, and I think Draco could finish him late, but I'll side with Draco by split decision. I do think that Zaharby's more technical, and Draco is a better athlete, but I'll side with Draco here. It's gonna be close though.
Yeah, I'll agree with your pick. That's the only way I'm gonna have to go with this. But yeah, we'll go with Draco. We'll go with Draco. We'll move on. Chas Skelly versus Jamal Emmers, 145-pound division. Chas Skelly, I don't know why. Every time I see him, I feel like he's been around for ages. And if you look at it, he has. His first fight was against Mirsad Bektik, 2014. He's still fighting in the UFC. His last fight, let's talk about his last fight, was against Jordan Griffin back in 2019 at UFC on ESPN Plus 16. Before that, he had a no contest, Dash choke. I'm not too sure if it went his way or not. I think he might have lost that against Bobby Moffett.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
He's been knocked out by Jason Knight in the past. Lost a decision versus Darren Elkins and Mishal Bektik. Jamal Emmers recently beat Vince Casarino. Lost to Giga Shikadze. Been knocked out versus Juliana Rosa. Lost against Thiago Moises back in the day. He got knocked out by him. Got choked as well in the past. But Charles Skelly, how do I see him getting it done? I'm going to go with submission, and I think it's going to be early on. I think if you look on Emma's record, he has been submitted in the past, and I think if you're looking at Charles Skelly's record, a lot of his wins as of late have been by submission. If you look, 4 of his last 7 wins have been submission. A lot of rear naked chokes. It got some anacondas on there. I'm going to go with a submission with Chaskelly early on.
Yeah, I think Jamal Emmers is pretty good on the feet. He even went to a split decision with Giga Chikadze. I don't think that was as close of a fight as the judges did, but it was competitive. And Jamal looked to be pretty promising in that fight. But his ground game is fairly questionable, even though he's got a couple submissions on his record. He likes to get it done by not. I think he could definitely catch Chas Kelly on the feet here. And Chas has not been fighting as regularly as of late. He's taken a long layoff. Even though he did fight fairly recently, I'm going to side with the more active fighter who's better on the feet. And I think Jamal Emmers lands the more effective strikes. He's going to land a bomb at some point, and he's going to get a unanimous decision win.
Yeah, well, we'll quickly, swiftly move this on. We're almost an hour in. I don't want to keep the viewers for too long. Juliana Rosa, actually, no, Shauna Dobson versus Casey O'Neill. Shauna Dobson produced one of the upsets of the year, maybe we could say, in 2020. I think it was might have been Annick's upset of the year versus Maria Agapova when she ground and pounded her for a win. Crazy upset that we saw in 2020. She was fighting Casey O'Neill, who's currently 5-0. Been fighting on the regional scene at Eternal MMA. Last fight came at UAE Warriors against a former UFC fighter in Christina. Actually, yes, she was. She was on the. Oh, actually, no, she wasn't. Never mind. It looked like a name that was recognizable.
She put her to sleep, which shows she has some serious power. And I think I simply cannot bet on a fighter with a losing record unless it's like Mark Hunt, because at this level, I just don't think the UFC should have somebody with a losing record on the roster. It's a bad look. I don't care what the excuse is. Oh, I fought elite competition. She didn't even fight the best of competition, and she has a losing record. I simply cannot excuse that. So simply based off of that, I'm going to side with Casey. She's also undefeated. She's out of that Tiger Muay Thai camp, which is super legit. Those over there at Tiger Muay Thai, their Thai boxing is elite, and I think she'll get. I think Shauna gets beat up here and loses the unanimous decision.
Yeah, you said there perfectly. She trains over at Tiger Muay Thai. If you look at who she's training with over there, one name that pops out, Valentina Shevchenko. She's over at Tiger Muay Thai, so she's getting in rounds with one of the best women in her division, 125 pounds. She's sparring with the champ. This is a great fight. I'm going to see Casey O'Neill take it. I'm going to go with we've seen Shauna Dobson in the past been finished, but that was the elbows against Roxanne Modafferi. I believe that was on the ground. It was like inside control on the fighter. So yeah, I don't think this is going to be stopped. I don't think there's going to be she actually got knocked out with Priscilla Kashiawa. So I'm gonna do a decision. I feel like Casey's gonna outpoint her in this fight.
Yeah, that's what should happen. But at lower level women's MMA, these dogs just win out of the blue, as we saw with Pollyanna Viana.
Brilliant. Brilliant way of putting it. Julian Rosa been putting on a win streak as of late, and he's fighting Nate the Train Landwehr in this one, 145 pounds. Nate recently got a unanimous decision win over Darren Elkins, and then before that he got knocked out by Herbert Burns, a BJJ practitioner who recently lost to who did he lose? Daniel Pineda. Yeah, Daniel Pineda. Yeah, but Julian Rosa. If you look at his record recently, last year he got a dash choke win over Sean Woodson. Before that, he had fought 3 fights inside the UFC. Got knocked out twice by Javante Smith and Julian Haas, and then went to the regional scene for 1 fight. Got signed back to the UFC on short notice, and we saw him take on Sean Woodson and get the win. But now he's fighting Nate Landwehr, who's been knocked out by Burns in the past, Herbert Burns. And I see it going the same way. I think Junior Rosa gets it done via strikes.
Oh, you do? Because he traditionally gets it done by submission. That's how he's done it in his last 2. He got that big upset over Sean Woodson. I was very confident Sean Woodson would get that done. That guy has a crazy reach. And Rosa got that 3rd round submission, which that surprised me, honestly, because Woodson was undefeated before that. But Nate is he's won 8 of his last 10. Of course he got knocked out by Herbert Burns. That was a wild exchange. That was a flying knee. I don't think that was mentioned enough in the Knockout of the Year nominees. That was absolutely insane. And he got submitted back in 2015. I'm sure he's polished up his ground game since then, and I think he'll be able to avoid the danger. And he's live for a knockout here because he's he's gotten a couple of wins by straight up a knockout. Just he knocked out Korokobov back in 2017 in the 2nd round, and Rosa, he gets hit a lot, but I think Rosa is very durable just by his knockout losses, and he should get outpointed by Nate Landwehr here, but this is a coin flip fight. There's a lot of close fights on this card. Props to the UFC for some good matchmaking. But I'll side with Nate Landwehr by split decision.
On this week's of Oscar's coin flip fight, we have Nate the Train Landwehr versus Julian Rosa. And you were talking about highly of Jamal Emma's striking recently, early on. And Julian Rosa's got a win over him, knocked him out as well in the Contender Series when he got signed. So, but if you look at the record of Julian Rosa, he's been knocked out in the past, recently as well against Julian Haas and Javante Smith. He's got a lot of losses on his record. Lost to Artem Lobov, got knocked out by Artem Lobov on the tough season 22. So. Yeah, not impressive actually when I look at his record. But he got that win, that huge win over Sean Woodson. Got him another shot in the UFC. If it's going to get it, I changed my pick. If he's going to get it done, it's going to be submission.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's very possible.
Next up, we have Eddie Windham versus John Castaneda. Eddie Windham coming off after his loss against Sean O'Malley when it was one of the knockouts of the year with that right cross, the feints, put him to sleep. His head bounced off the canvas. Wasn't nice to see from a veteran. But in this one, we got John Castaneda, who lost recently, lost a unanimous decision versus Nathaniel Wood. And, he's got some real heart in that fight. He showed some really good durability. Took a lot of shots from Wood. Stuck in there as well. He was at some of the fights. He had some good moments. A lot of his wins have came via decision. A few ground and pounds. I think this is going to be a decision win for John Castaneda. But I feel like the Eddie Windham, after getting, he's on the way out. I think. But if you look at before the fight against Sean O'Malley, he knocked out Popov. Lost against Alejandro Perez, John Dodson, beat Tadzagaki, Frankie Saenz, But yeah, I just don't. I don't feel confident in picking Eddie Wineland. I'm not too sure what it is. I'm going to go with John Castaneda with this one.
Yeah, I said there's a lot of close fights on this card. This is another one. Eddie Wineland is older of age. He got knocked down of the last one. John Castaneda doesn't have crazy power, so I think Eddie probably avoids Castaneda's his bombs that he's going to try to throw to knock him out. I think Eddie should outpoint him here. Castaneda, Castaneda, he's not had the best of success in his last couple. He's won one, he's lost one. I think that Wanlin, ever since he got that mustache, it's really representative, right? He's like this. He's an old school gunslinger. He would have done really well in the Wild West. This guy, he's a tough vet. He used to be WEC champ. I think his best days are behind him. I think this is a pretty decent matchup for him. And I think he probably gets this done by unanimous decision.
Well, kicking the last few fights of the prelims, you have Draco Close versus Luis Pena, a really good underrated fight. Luis Pena, he came off the tough. I don't think he won the tough. He might have got lost against Mike Triziano. But Draco Close in his last fight had a war against Benil Dariush. Unfortunately, did get knocked out. But he had some moments in that fight, could have went his way. Luis Pena, he's not had the best of success recently. If you look at his record in his last fight, he got guillotine choked by Karma Worthy, the underdog killer. Recently, he just lost against Otman Azatado, but he's not in the UFC anymore. So, if you look at the wins from Luis Pena, he has a win over Matt Wyman, Steven Peterson, a submission victory over Richie Smullen, Enyal Mafaya. But not anything that really stands out and impresses me with the wins. And I can't really remember his performances to being really jumping out. Thinking he looked really good that night. But yeah, if you look at Draco Close's record, he's beat Bobby Green, beat Lando Venata, beat Christian Yargos. Lost against David Tamor. He's actually got a split decision win over Mark Diakese. Beat Devin Powell. He's got some really good wins on his record, and I'm going to have to go with Draco Close in this one. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, Draco Close, he gets really wild, like he did in that Benil Dariush fight. Benil Dariush has some pretty good power, and he made him pay for it. Luis Pena, on the other hand, he's 6'3" at lightweight. That's insane. He's taller than DC, who is the champ at heavyweight and light heavyweight. He trains over at American Top Team. He was sparring with Masvidal in Poirier in preparation for his fight with Kama Worthy. It didn't go too well for him. I think that Draco Close simply has fought and beaten the better competition. You saw Luis Pena. He's lost to who was it? He was supposed to fight Otman Azatar. Matt Favola, yes, Matt Favola.
Mm-hmm.
He lost to him by split decision. I personally thought that was a robbery, but that was a fairly competitive fight. Favola, he's not that experienced, and Luis Pena is not that experienced either. And Draco Close is a proven contender possibly at lightweight. He's beaten Bobby Green, who had an excellent 2020 until that robbery against Thiago Moises. I think that Draco Close could get a knockout here because Luis Pena does not present the knockout threat. He doesn't have a lot of power. And we saw Draco Close loves to fight wild fights. That's what he's going to do here. And Luis Pena won't make him pay. I don't think he will. So I'm signing with Draco Close to get a unanimous decision.
Yeah, well, next up, we've got Jared Gordon versus Danny Chavez, who I just recently interviewed. Will be dropping tomorrow. Might be on the end of this. Actually, will be on the end of this episode. So make sure to check that out after the show. But Danny Chavez versus Jared Gordon, 145 pounds. In his last fight, Danny Chavez outpointed TJ Brown. The calf kicks were a massive factor in that fight. Jared Gordon, in his last fight, I think he finished Chris Fishgold. I can't remember. Oh, decision over Chris Fishgold. Yeah, domination. Yeah, absolute domination over Chris Fishgold. Been knocked out in the past with Charles Oliveira, Joaquin Buckley, and Diego Ferreira. Danny Chavez. If you look at his record, he has a lot of knockouts on his record, a lot of head kicks. His kicks are really heavy. We've seen that in the fight versus TJ Brown. He's if Chavez has been submitted in the past, that's where I see Jared Gordon having the edge is maybe on the ground. But if you look at his record, there's not too many submission wins for Jared Gordon. So that kind of that makes me feel like he's going to want the fight standing. So Danny Chavez, I think, will be able to have the better of the exchanges. I think Danny Chavez will get them leg kicks working early. He's going to throw them in. We've seen it against TJ Brown, as I mentioned. He shut down that lead leg fantastically. And in this fight, the lead leg kicks will be a massive factor in this fight. And I feel like we're going to see Danny Chavez put on a good performance this night and really stand out.
Yeah, I have questions about Jared Gordon's chin. He got knocked out by Charles Oliveira, who's he's a finisher, but he's a jiu-jitsu practitioner. That's his bread and butter. He likes to get submissions. But in that fight, he got knocked out cold by Charles Oliveira in Brazil. And we've seen Danny Chavez have a lot of explosivity. He loves to get those big highlight reel knockouts. Uh, and he likes to do some big head kick, some big head
Mm-hmm.
kicks, and he's gotten a couple of head kick wins, and I think that's what's gonna happen. He's gonna catch him. I just don't think Jared Gordon is that great on the feet. I think he excels more on the ground, and we saw in that Chris Friscold fight, he was content to be in the backside position. He could have taken his back and submitted him, but instead he was content with landing a bunch of shots, and his ground he doesn't have a lot of power on the ground either. He landed like over 100 strikes on Chris Fishgold, and that wasn't enough to stop the fight. So I'll side with the guy with more power and explosivity on the feet. Danny Chavez should get this head kick in the second round.
Yeah, that's the I see it going with Danny Chavez. To finish the prelims, we've got a cracker of a fight. Andre Arlovski versus Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall, getting that step up at competition, fighting that vet, fighting the person that you need to win against to really go up in the heavyweight rankings. Heavyweight. If you look at heavyweight, I think if you want to get to the top of the division, you almost certainly have to get through Andre Arlovski. It's a given. In his last fight against Andre Arlovski, he beat Tanabosa. Before that, he's beat Felipe Lins, got 2 unanimous decision wins. After that, he'd been knocked out versus Rosenstrike, lost to Augusto Sakai. But if you look at recently, he's not been getting knocked out as much. A lot of decision wins and losses. Obviously, we know about that knockout loss to Francis Ngannou back in 2017. But Tom Aspinall is probably one of the biggest prospects we have coming out of the UK at the moment. Looked great in his last fight against Alam Biadot, and obviously he knocked out Jake Collier as well. This is a huge step up in competition. If you look at recently who he's fought, just wavelengths. And we're going to really find out if he's the real deal in this fight. Is Tom Aspinall as good as we think? I'm going to go yes. I think he stopped Andre Arlovski.
Yeah, Andre Arlovski got knocked out in 30 seconds by Jairzinho Rosenstrike back in 2019, and I think that fight is gonna look very similar. Honestly, we've seen Tom Aspinall just run through these guys that he's been fed, in my opinion. Jake Collier is a former middleweight who basically just got a fat over the quarantine or whatever, and he got crushed in 45 minutes. That lets you know that Jake Collier just he didn't belong in there with him. And when he was fed Alan Padot, who's a legit heavyweight, he took him down and ground and pounded him. This is a guy who spars with Tyson Fury, and he's got an excellent ground game. In fact, he's got a black belt. He's been submitted back in 2015. Of course, he's gotten better since then. He's fairly early on in his career. He likes to. He thinks he looks like. Everybody points this out. He looks like Frank Mir. So he's just kept. He shaved his mustache and kept the goatee. And I don't remember if Frank Mir fought Arlovsky, but if he did,
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
don't know. Yeah, who won?
I think it was Andrei Arlovsky. That might have been for the belt, if I'm
Yeah,
correct.
he's gonna get payback for his dad. He's gonna knock him out in the first round in convincing
Yeah.
fashion.
Oh,
We haven't seen Arlovsky on the ground as of late. Arlovsky used to get a ton of leg locks on guys back then. Arlovsky made his debut in 2000s though, so back then MMA was kind of a free for all. You could kind of do whatever. Arlovsky probably gets hurt bad, even though Arlovsky he's been really patient, just like Usman. He's been patient. He doesn't overcommit, and when he does, he gets clipped. But it really won't matter because I think Tom Aspinall will be the aggressor, as he has been in the last couple, and he'll just blitz him and put him out. I think Arlovsky possibly should consider retirement at this point because he's just been in the game for so long.
might have lost Oscar once again. Anyway, well, I'll quickly talk about the fight. He did fight Frank Mir at UFC 191 back in 2015. He beat Frank Mir, Andrei Arlovsky, but then he went on the run of getting knocked out against Stipe Miocic, Alistair Overeem, Francis Ngannou. He lost 5 back-to-back at 2016 all the way to 2017. Returned against Junior Albini, beat Stefan Struve, who recently just retired, Stefan Struve. But yeah, if you look at his recent performances, as Oscar was putting perfectly, very much patient. Finish off what you were saying.
Yeah, he's finished off these well he hasn't finished them off. He's more of a decision guy nowadays. He likes to he doesn't he doesn't try to create openings that aren't there. He doesn't chase knockouts, he doesn't chase submissions. He likes to be patient and in that fight with Bowser, I actually thought he lost that because he was only waiting for those big bombs, and Bowser was constantly kicking him. And if you saw the image of Andrei Arlovsky's leg, tell me that Bowser didn't do enough damage to win that fight. That might just be me, but we saw him be patient. It won't matter. I just think Aspinall's just got too much power, and he possibly sends him into a retirement with a devastating first round knockout.
I agree 100%. We'll keep these main cards short and sweet. We've been on air for about 100, 1 hour and 20 minutes almost. So we'll keep them short. Kicking off the main card, we've got a really good fight between a powerhouse and I'm not Imavoyev. Yeah, we'll go with that. We got Phil Hawes versus Nasuddin Imavov.
Yeah.
That was close enough. Imavov in his recent fight got a unanimous decision over Jordan Williams. Phil Hawes in his recent fight knocked out Jacob Malkoun in 18 seconds at UFC 254. Habib versus Gaethje in Abu Dhabi. You've probably seen that fight. You know, he 18 seconds.
Yeah,
crazy. That was City Kickboxing's prospect as well, Jacob Malkoun. He, goes in there, starches him as well, and Phil Hawes is a man to be reckoned with. But I see. If you look at Imadoya's record, his losses, he's never been finished. Only been finished by submission, which is a good sign. That's what you want to see. He has submission wins as well on his record. Maybe that's the only way I see him winning this fight is via submission. I feel like he's going to have the edge on the ground, but I think obviously Phil Hawes is going to have the power advantage on the feet. All it takes is one shot with this sort of guy with Phil Hawes. It takes one shot and you can be put out. And I think Phil Hawes is going to land early and he'll put out Imavoy's lights out.
Yeah. One thing about Imavov in that fight with Jordan Williams, he headbutted him. He there was a lot of fouls in that. It was kind of weird. Kind of a weird fight. That was a really good fight though, but he did get hurt in that fight. And against Phil Haas, he doesn't hurt you. He just puts you to sleep. It's like Nagano almost. This guy has insane power. And also, Malkoun had never been knocked out. Malkoun was actually an undefeated 4-0 fighter heading into that. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. And Phil
Yeah, yeah.
Haas put him to sleep. Phil Haas has insane power. He did get knocked out by Julian Marquez on the Contender Series with a head kick from behind. But I think he's grown so much since then. He's got a wrestling background and he's got great power. I just think that the only uh, really bad trait about him is that cardio. Like Adolfo Vieira. I would like to see him fight 1 minute rounds. He could be champion if there was 1 minute rounds. And Phil Haas should land a bomb and put him out. I think if he's a little more patient this time, he could get a second round knockout. How about you?
Yeah, I'm going with Phil Hawes in this fight with a knockout. And I think he's going to, the only way he's going to get a knockout was early in the first round. And I think he's going to get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on.
Alexei Olynyk versus Chris Dawkis. This fight is a really interesting matchup. Alexei Olynyk, the crafty veteran, been fighting since, was it 1999? 1996, he made his debut in MMA. And he's 43 years of age. Chris Dawkis, when did he make his debut in MMA? Let's put this in perspective. 2013.
That's insane.
How about that? He's been knocked out in the past. He's been submitted as well. He's actually been knocked out twice in his career. Yeah, this is an interesting matchup. How do you see it going?
Yeah, either way, I see this ending in the first round. I simply do. I think either Olynyk gets that first round anaconda choke or what's the submission called?
Oh, that's a good point. The Olynyk.
The boa.
Oh,
The boa, the constrictor boa. Whatever. He likes to get this choke that's similar to an arm triangle, but he puts his own spin on it. He does really well on the ground for himself, and on the feet he's very sloppy. What was it called? Ezekiel, yes, Ezekiel choke. He got that Ezekiel choke on both Mark Hunt and he retired Travis Brown with it as well. This guy has unprecedented experience. In fact, nobody's more experienced than him on the UFC roster. He has more experience and fights than anybody else on this roster. And it really reflects in his fights. This guy's a crafty vet. In that fight with Derrick Lewis, he almost got the submission. Derrick Lewis said, "I almost tapped, but I didn't want to look like a baby," or whatever he said. But he he goes against the odds and he does pretty well for himself considering his age and the miles on that card. It's really impressive what he's been able to do. And to be at this later stage in his career and still being ranked in the top 10 in the UFC, it's very impressive. And I think he'll probably get the submission here. He's actually my underdog pick of the week. I think that Chris Dawkis simply cannot make up in power what Olynyk has in experience and submission ability. So I think Olynyk gets this takedown and it gets that Ezekiel choke in the first round. But Dawkis, as I said, I think this is going to end in the first round. If Dawkis doesn't use his speed to land a big bomb and put him out, it's not happening for him. Because we even saw Olynyk win by decision against Verdum. Yeah, Verdum looked terrible. Yeah, but I'm not too convinced on Chris Dawkis yet. I think Chris Dawkis may be suited better at light heavyweight. He says he likes to be at heavyweight because he's a smaller guy, so he can use his speed to knock his opponents out. Like his last opponent was undefeated. I forgot his name, but he knocked him out in the first round. And
Rodrigo Nascimento.
Yeah, Nascimento. Yes, he knocked him out, and he looked impressive in that outing. And I think if Olynyk doesn't get hit and knocked out, he'll get that Ezekiel choke. He didn't get knocked out against Derrick Lewis in the first round, so Derrick Lewis has a record for heavyweights for knockouts. And if he didn't do it in the first round, I'm thinking Olynyk submits him. Do you?
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. I think Olynyk gets this one to maybe not to the ground early. I think he'll get knocked down early, and Chris Dawkis will jump on him, and that will be the worst mistake that he will make. I think then it's Olynyk's world. He'll reverse him, sweep him, get on top, maybe get that Ezekiel choke from the bottom, as we've seen a lot in the past. But if you look at his record, he's got an armbar win over Maurice Green. He's got a rear naked choke win. As you said, that neck crank over Travis Brown that retired him. But if you look on Travis Brown Instagram, he said that he's chasing the UFC dream. So is he retired or is he not?
Really?
So yeah, he said he's chasing the heavyweight. Carry on, sorry.
What else is new? Is Ronda making a comeback too? I don't believe it. I don't believe it for 1 minute. His chin is very suspect, and honestly, he didn't have necessarily an elite skill set. Uh, I remember one of his biggest wins was a big Brown Brennan Shaw back in the day. Uh, he did knock out Overeem, but who knows? Who knows? This heavyweight division is an older man's game. Stipe is nearly 40. That's a little blurred for me at the moment. You might want to send that through Instagram. You have no, come on. Wow. That honestly, that's a bad idea because you want to know who we have waiting for you. We got Jairzinho Rosenstrike, Derrick Lewis, who already knocked you out. We have Alistair Overeem. I think Overeem has gotten way better since that last fight. We have Curtis Blaydes, who would beat him worse than Cain Velasquez did at UFC 200. I honestly don't. Francis Ngannou would that would be sanctioned murder if you ask me. What do you think?
Yeah, if we're talking about Travis Brown, yeah, that's not a good idea.
Yeah,
He's,
honestly, he's pretty settled down. Ronda made a pretty penny working over at the WWE, so I don't think he really needs money. I don't know what would motivate him at this point. Uh, hey, a rematch with Olynyk that might go better for him. The second time now that Olynyk's been knocked out multiple times since that last fight by Walt Harris and Derrick Lewis. Who knows? Who knows?
yeah,
This is a
that
crazy
was
sport.
definitely. But yeah, Olynyk. Talking about the Olynyk fight, Olynyk is gonna look for a submission early, and I think he's gonna get it against Chris Dawkis, who has been submitted in the past.
Yeah.
But anyway, moving on. Next fight of the evening, we do have Derek Minnow versus Charles Rosa. An interesting one on the main card. We have Charles Rosa only recently beat Kevin Aguilar. Before that, lost against Bryce Mitchell. Knocked out against Shane Burgos. Lost a split decision versus Yair Rodriguez. But he's beat Kyle Bochnak, beat Manny Bermudez. Other than that, not too many impressive wins on his record. As we know, he's a really good black belt. But Bryce Mitchell did make him look not like an amateur in that fight. But other than that, interesting. Derek Minner, he's got a lot of chokes on his record. If you look at on his record, he submitted TJ Laramie in his last fight. A lot of submission wins, but the thing that worries me about Minna is that he's very submittable too. If you look
Yeah.
at a lot of his losses recently, been knocked out against Kevin Kroon back in 2018, submitted by Herbert Burns, submitted by Grant Dawson, submitted by Jordan Giffen, submitted by Fernando Padilla. This is all in the space of 3 years, by the way. He's been submitted a lot in his career, and that's the way I see it. I think Charles Rosa is going to submit him.
Yeah, Charles Rosa is a black belt, just like a mitter. I think this is going to be a grappler's delight. That fight with Bryce Mitchell and Charles Rosa, that was actually a really entertaining fight.
Mm-hmm.
Bryce Mitchell nearly got the twister on multiple occasions. Uh, I think Charles Rosa likes to keep it on the feet these days. If he thinks he has the edge, and I do think he has the edge against Derek Mitter. In his fight with Kevin Aguilar, if you remember, he looked really good on the feet. And Kevin Aguilar is pretty decent on the feet as well. I actually thought Kevin was going to knock out Charles, and he didn't. Charles held his own on the feet and got the split decision that night. And I think the grappling, if they don't go there, it will cancel each other out. And Charles Rosa could get a third round finish, but I think he probably gets the decision win here. But if this goes to the ground, I will side with Charles as well because Charles he's a well-rounded fighter, but when he goes against a really good striker or a really good grappler, he loses. But in this case, I don't think Derrick has the edge, and Charles should get this done.
Yep, the co-main event of the evening, we've got Caitlin Vieira versus Yuna Kunitskaya. Kunitskaya, yeah. Recently, Yana, she got that win over, Julia Storyenko.
Yes, yeah, and that one cost me too. Yeah, I thought Julia was going to get that arm bar. That was really unfortunate.
Mm-hmm. So having that been said, recently she's been knocked out versus Aspen Ladd, Chris Cyborg, been submitted by Tonya Evinger and Saria Dovienko back in 2016. So she's been submitted twice and been finished on the feet twice via strikes. Caitlin Vieira recently, she got a decision win over Siaja Eubanks. If you look on her record, it's just full of decisions. A lot of decisions on her record. Not too many finishes. She has an arm triangle choke versus Sarah McMahon. She got knocked out versus Irene Aldana a few fights ago. Then she come back with a win over Ciara Eubanks. And I think she's going to get a decision win in this fight. I think Yana's not going to possess. I don't know what it is.
The skill set overall.
Exactly. The skill set to kind of, worry Caitlin Vieira in this fight. And if it does go to the ground, obviously I'm going to favour Caitlin Vieira. I think this is going to be a decision win for Vieira. That's all I can say about this fight. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, this is a straightforward fight. Yana Kunitskaya's greatest strength is her strength. In her last fight, she won by basically controlling Storyenko in the clinch. That's what she did that fight, and she's gonna try to do it here against Ketlin. Ketlin won't have it. Ketlin has only lost one fight to Irene Aldana, and that was the first round knockout. And it's obvious that Yana does not have the kind of power that Aldana has. So she's gonna be in trouble here. She's gonna be outmatched everywhere this fight goes, and this is gonna be a fairly easy win for Vieira. I want to bet on it because Vieira cost me a bet last week. But this is a pretty easy fight to pick if you ask me. So Vieira by unanimous decision is the easy pick. And if Kunitskaya decides to take her down, it's going to be a short night for her. She's going to get submitted by the black belt. That is Vieira.
Yeah, but a little bit of breaking news before we move on to the main event. I'm not too sure if you're looking at your phone, but Mike Perry has been slated to fight Daniel Rodriguez. An interesting matchup. A really good fun matchup. At April 10th. That's a good matchup. I love
that fight. That's an excellent fight. There's no way that doesn't receive fight of the night. Both guys always come to fight. Both guys have knockout power. That's going to be a really fun fight. I'm going to side with probably going to have to side with Rodriguez because Perry just doesn't seem to be taking things seriously. But that's all we'll see now for that fight. In the next one, we have the main event. Let's introduce the main event to the people.
Curtis Blaydes versus Derrick Lewis. Arguably, Blaydes, he deserves that title shot, but unfortunately, them losses to Ngannou kind of hindered that. And he's been fighting, some top 5 guys ever since. But yeah, if Ngannou wasn't in his division, he would be the number 1 contender right now. But his losses, he's 14-2 in MMA, and both of them losses do become against Ngannou, and he got knocked out in both of them. A doctor stoppage in the first one, and in the second one, a clean knockout in 45 seconds. Finished up against the fence, sort of thing. Recently against Volkov, we saw he looked good, impressive. Gino Dos Santos knocked him out. Beat Shamil Adamburyukov and Mimokov, ground and pound. Got decision win over Justin Willis. Big Pretty, should we call him? But Derrick Lewis, if you look at his recent run, he got knocked out by JDS. And then beat Blagoy, Ilar Latifi. Recently knocked out Alexei Olynyk, as we mentioned earlier. Had a title fight at one point. Didn't go his way. Submission lost to Daniel Cormier. Yeah, that he literally got that fight because everyone loved him.
Yeah,
Through having the platform and being a great guy and just entertaining, he got that fight. Obviously, he has that win over Francis Ngannou, which I probably everyone remembers that fight. Crazy war at 226, an absolute war.
legendary.
Yeah, recently, 3-fight win streak, got knocked out by JDS via body kick. Curtis Blaydes, one of the most consistent guys in the heavyweight division as of late, been really active. Finished over him on the ground with strikes, elbows. Got a doctor stoppage over Alexei Olynyk. Got that Volkov win recently. Who Volkov kind of he got the we saw Blaydes get tired in that fight a little bit. Then Volkov got a little bit of success. Other than that, we know his cardio is not the greatest. So I do give the edge to Blaydes with cardio and going 5 rounds. I think Blaydes takes him down for the first round, as we saw with Olynyk. Olynyk and Lewis. Olynyk took Lewis down for the first round. Almost summited him, then got knocked out. There in this fight, yeah, I just see Blaydes being able to control Lewis on the ground. We've seen it in the past. Lewis being able to be controlled on the ground. We saw it against Daniel Cormier. But who doesn't get controlled on the ground by Daniel Cormier nowadays? But yeah, I think Blaydes controls him on the ground, and I don't think he gets to finish. I don't. Well, I was literally about to say I don't think Blaydes has that power, but Blaydes did knock out GDS in spectacular fashion. But yeah, I'm going to go with Blaydes. I'm going to go with. Actually, I'm not going to go with decision because if it goes longer than 3 rounds, Lewis is going to be gassed. Yeah, Lewis is going to be gassed. So either submission win late or a KO win late for Blaydes.
Curtis Blaydes is really not a submission threat. I don't even recall him winning by submission in the UFC. That fight with Volkov really let me know a lot about Curtis Blaydes. His cardio was not reliable in that fight, but I do think it was mainly because he got too fancy with that fight. He got 12 takedowns total. He was doing a lot of power takedowns, and power takedowns you don't have to do them. It just looks good, and you might slam a guy in his head, but other than that, he was doing a lot of power takedowns, and that's probably what made his you know that's probably what failed him in that fight. He could have gotten a ground and pound finish if he had not just gone crazy with the takedowns. I do think that Curtis Blaydes gets this done by a third round TKO with smashing elbows, just like he did with Overeem. I think that he needs to land effective ground and pound on Derrick Lewis to chip away at him because we've seen Derrick Lewis just quit in fights. In that fight with Mark Hunt, he wasn't getting hit with huge shots. Both guys were pretty tired in that fourth round, but he was so exhausted he just crumbled. In that fight with Volkov, he crumbled as well. When in the fight with Travis Brown, he crumbled when he gets hit with those body shots. He'll go down, and I think that's where Curtis Blaydes can shine in this fight with the body shots on the feet and big elbows on the ground. And I think eventually it's going to be too much for Derrick Lewis, who he has pretty bad cardio. He keeps on saying, "Oh, I'm going to lose weight." Have we seen the guy really look significantly smaller? Not really. He said he wanted to get down to 250. He still isn't at that heavyweight limit. And until he's disciplined enough to lose a ton of weight and look, say similar to Jairzinho Rosenstrike. I think Jairzinho Rosenstrike is a better, more technical version of Derrick Lewis. I think that until Derrick Lewis loses a lot of weight, I don't feel comfortable betting on him because he's pretty sluggish. But what as sluggish as he is, he's athletic. He throws out these crazy kicks, these flying knees. But I'll never forget his fight with Alir Latifi. Do you remember that fight?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, that was about 9 minutes of control time for Alir Latifi. Let me remind you that Alir Latifi was the shortest guy at light heavyweight. and he moved up to heavyweight, and he nearly beat Derrick Lewis by unanimous decision. He nearly did it, but he just he got hit too many times. But if he kept it on the ground, it would have been Leo Latifi's fight. In fact, I thought Latifi won that fight when I saw it live. Derrick Lewis was exhausted. He had his head down, almost in shame. I felt that Derrick Lewis was handed that win by the hometown judges that night. In fact, jokingly in an interview, he said the hometown judges will come through. His original prediction was first round knockout, but he changed it. If he can't put away a guy like Alir Latifi, I just don't think he'll put away a guy like Curtis Blaydes, who's Curtis Blaydes only been knocked out by the scariest, most powerful power puncher in the division, Francis Ngannou, which I can't blame him. That's Francis Ngannou, who's unstoppable pretty much. What's your name's Stipe or Derrick Lewis, but that was not a fight. Let's be honest. And Francis probably takes Derrick's head off if they fight again. But I think Derrick Lewis gets hit with a ton of ground and pound shots from Curtis and gets finished at in the third or fourth round.
I agree. I think it's I changed my pick submission. I didn't. I looked at his record and he said there hasn't got a submission win. Blaydes.
I didn't see one. Yeah.
Yeah, so as I said there, it doesn't really pose that submission threat. But yeah, if he's going to get a submission win, though, it would be against a guy like Lewis. We've seen him in the past been submitted.
Hey,
but
would he really do it against the baddest blue belt in Texas? Would he really survive Olynyk, for goodness sake?
Yeah, if it is going to be a submission win, it would be against Lewis. But it's not going to happen. I think it's going to be a KO or a TKO late on in the fight.
Yeah, I think that's probably, I have to agree with you there. I just think Derrick Lewis needs to make a commitment to his weight loss, and then he can be a real threat because he keeps on saying he's going to lose weight. But yeah, I just haven't really seen a change in the guy. He even admitted to eating Popeye's chicken. Popeye's chicken over here is fried chicken. It's very greasy. I don't really eat it anymore. I prefer a rotisserie chicken. It's healthier and it's even tastier. But Derrick Lewis has admitted to eating at fast food restaurants when he has a fight prepared. In fact, he admitted to only training 30 minutes a day before he changed things around. I think Derrick Lewis has really been his mistakes have been hidden beyond his power. He can in that Volkov fight, that was the biggest statistical comeback in UFC history, and he just needs one to get it done. And we've seen Curtis get knocked out before by Francis. That's a real possibility, but if that doesn't happen, it's going to be an easy fight for Curtis Blaydes, if you ask me.
Yep, well, that's the end of our picks and predictions and the UFC 258 review. It's been a long one, Oscar. 1 hour and 45 minutes and counting. So
record breaker, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably would that be our record?
It is indeed. I believe the first episode we might have done between us two, that might have been an hour 13. We've tried to keep it under an hour, but when you have a 15 fight card and a pretty cool pay-per-view, you got to chat about things. And when these episodes are long, things just slip through the cracks. In fact, an entire event might slip through the cracks. Volkov and Overeem, that was a decent card, and we saw perhaps the knockout of the year before in Corey Sandhagen, Frank Jaeger. Just sum that up in 2 sentences because this episode is really long.
Yeah, we'll probably end it here, Oscar. Make sure to tune in Danny Chavez interview if you listen on a podcast on Anchor. I'm no good at these. Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I need to learn these.
Yeah, even Google Podcasts. You can literally look up the podcast on Google, and it'll be right there for you.
Make sure to subscribe on YouTube right here where we do daily interviews with UFC fighters. They come out every week, twice a week. This week we have Danny Chavez and one of the hottest prospects in the UK, Paddy Pimblett, will be released on Thursday. Danny Chavez will be released tomorrow on YouTube or maybe after this episode. We'll see. But we'll get it done. And if you listen on podcasts, right now. Danny Chavez will come on right now, and I hope you enjoy. For me and Oscar, a very good bye.
Bye.
Oh, that was a long one.
Oh my.